Hello, everybody. Welcome to Grown Folks. It's your host, Dougie Fresh Kids, aka Bread Money. How's everybody doing today? Today we got a hell of a show lined up for you. We're going to tell you what's in the news and what's giving you the blues. So, how is everybody doing? How was your weekend? Man, things were kind of crazy this week for me. So, what I got to talk about is what's in the news lately. You got Trump in the news doing this and that with Iran. How does everybody feel about all this Iran stuff? To me, it's like, it's just going back and forth. And I was thinking, like, man, I am so fired up. I'm going to get on stream and I'm going to tell the people exactly how I feel about this bullshit. You know what I mean? I had so much energy bounced in me all week. So, on a good note, I'm going to tell you some things that happened to me this weekend. I hit a personal best on the Smith machine. I don't want to say bench because it wasn't a bench press, but it was a Smith machine press. And I've been aiming for this goal for quite a while. And I finally got the 405 off my chest and completed one rep of the 405. So I'm happy. I'm proud of myself for that. I mean, I can remember when I first started out, I was just benching one plate on each side, and now there's 4 plates on each side. I mean, for a guy my size, I'm 5'4", I'm not real big, but I'm getting up there. I want to be the first. I want to be like one of many. I think it's like 3% of the whole world can bench 400 at 50 years old. So it's a very small number. But what do you think about my next goal being 500? So yeah, that's my next goal. I mean, you think I can get myself strong enough to bench 500? I don't know. I might have to increase my gear that I'm on now, which right now I'm only taking TRT, and it's doctor prescribed TRT. I take 100 milligrams a week, but I try to break that up into microdoses, kind of, so I'll take a little bit here and there, because if I take the whole shot, it seems to make me kind of sick. So I don't like that feeling, like feeling kind of need to be my bunghole type thing. So yeah, it's crazy. So in the news, like I was talking about, Mr. Trump said he's breaking the deal with Iran. Screw it. What do you think's going to happen next? And how do we think we can successfully get out of this, without costing us a lot of taxpayers' money, or, dividing the world to where we crack like an egg? Our foundation is already shaky. So what do you think it's going to take to just set everything in motion, to start everybody to start breaking? I mean, I know a lot of people are at that point. And what I'm telling you today is just stop reading the garbage. Stop listening to the garbage. Stop getting involved in that. You know what I mean? If you want to have a good weekend, the best thing for you to do is to put your phone down, and go for a walk, go for a nature hike, without your phone, even if it's for a few hours. I know a lot of you probably, maybe you can't go that long without your phone. But my challenge this week is to try to see how we can use our phones less in our life. And let's not feel like our phone is got to be a part of us all the time, where we have to have it. Like, if we just misplace it, we tend to get like angry, like, oh my God, where's my phone? Have you seen my phone? Do you have my phone? Oh my, somebody's, it's like we freak right out. Like, the world has gone so crazy over the phone situation that it's just nuts. And in the news, there's nothing ever positive. I'm telling you, it's always Trump this, Iran that, he's orange, he's bad, he's a king, even to where I seen something over the weekend that kind of made me it was discouraging to see, because they're a church, and a church that I go to, like if I'm low on groceries or whatever, I've used this church because they have like a food bank. So I've been there, once or twice in my life. But I seen outside that they were protesting against President Trump. And I don't think that we as a society should get involved in politics and if we're faced in Christianity. You know what I mean? Like that church should not have its parishioners out there holding signs like, Trump's a king, I'd rather be this, that, and another, I just don't see how the two even can exist, together. And that's what brings up my next subject is, Trump and the Pope. He's depicted pictures of himself as Jesus, which I totally don't agree with. And I know a lot of you don't. If you're a Christian, you probably find that very offensive like I do. I mean, the guy does some weird off the wall things that would make you come to believe that he is unhinged. But in the end, he also does things that is astonishing. Like he's stopped several wars allegedly, and I can't just name off like everything like what he's done. But throughout his life, he's always been a person that I think he has had good intent. But I think when you get money, you become a little bit, what's a good word to say, like arrogant, egotistical. He's very arrogant and egotistical. Even at 80 years old, he talks about playing his granddaughter, Kai Trump, who's a very good golfer. I don't know if you follow Kai Trump, but go over to her channel, follow her, give her a follow. She's very, very interesting to watch. And it's not a political thing either. This is a human being thing. So where I think that we're all human beings, we all bleed the same, we all put our pants on the same. Listen, unless you're a woman, you're wearing a dress. That's okay too. What I'm talking about is the truth here. So just like me, I've had my ups and my downs. I've been, at times I've had a lot of money in my hands and I felt like, I was untouchable. Nobody could touch me. You know what I mean? I got 10 stacks, sitting on me right now. So who's going to tell me anything, And that ain't a lot of money because I could spend that in a second, It's so simple. So what I want to say, and I wanted to just tell you that let's leave our phones at home and go out and enjoy a nice walk, enjoy nature, and leave our phones home when you do it, and just get in touch with your inner self and not your cell phone or whatever you're using these days. I don't know. There's a lot of devices, but leave your devices at home and try to go for a walk in somewhere. If you live in the city, maybe you might have to take a little drive, but go out of the city a little bit to maybe a beach, a lake, and just sit there and kind of meditate and think about how can I make my life better? What do I need to do to try to overcome some of the things that are holding me back from being successful? Whether it be alcohol or drugs or, a lot of people are addicted to food these days. I mean, you have several shows that have these 600-pound women on them and they're so overweight because they've let themselves go, and I think to find yourself, you have to connect with something. Almost like when they talk about getting back to your spirituality, and finding a higher power. I'm that kind of way because this weekend, I should say, while I was cooking, I had these two girls who were from a Mormon church. They had stopped by and was like, "Hey, do you believe in God?" I was like, "Yeah, I believe in God." And yeah, well, we're Church of Latter Day Saints. This is okay. Yeah, I know exactly about your religion, and I don't, I don't follow it. I don't follow organized religion, but I do respect y'all's views and everything. That's just not something that I just don't agree with Joseph being a prophet and all that stuff. I believe in Jesus and I believe in God and I worship him in my own way. And she's like, "Well, we respect that too. And, you have a good day." And I was like, "Yeah, you too. You have a good day." But there would have been another point in time where I would have probably been rude and said some nasty things. And that's where I think I've become a better person because I have done that work to try to let my spirituality take the wheel, you know what I mean, and drive me to a place of good instead of evil, and every day we're going to be faced with that. You got one thing on your shoulder, it's telling you to do the bad thing, and you got the other telling you to do the good, and it's a constant fight that we have, and it's our inner self. It's not an actual thing. It's just we fight with our inner self a lot. And we got to win the small battles in the trenches, I call it. Every day, if we win some of the small battles, we'll see progress as we grow towards being more spiritual and letting our old self kind of fade away. But don't get it twisted. There's times where, someone can piss me off and you're gonna see the old me come out. And I'm not gonna say I'm violent and I can beat up anybody, and everybody. I'm not a badass by any means. I don't even know how to fight. I've never been really taught. I mean, I've had a few boxing lessons. I can wrestle, you know what I mean? I wrestled and in school, and then after school, I wrestled for USA Wrestling. I took it as far as I could take it, and then that was it. I didn't have a very good record, so it wasn't something that I pursued a lot, but I enjoyed the competition of it. And that's what drove me, and that's what drives me today is the competition. Can I succeed at something where others always are telling me that no, Doug, don't do it because you're just gonna fail. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to fail because I know deep inside I got something inside of me that a lot of y'all don't. And that's, I got just this inner strength that comes from my higher power that drives me. I'm a very driven individual, driven to succeed by any means, by hook or crook. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go out there and reach for it. I don't care if I got to climb a ladder to get it. I'm going to do what I have to do to succeed. And that's what I want to tell everybody else. You have to start at the first rung of that ladder. And that's just putting your phones down and accepting that, sometimes we overuse our technology and we become slaves to it. So don't be a slave to your phone. Don't let it control your day and take time to just get in touch with your inner self, your inner peace, your inner being. And I promise you, you'll have a better day. And that's what I wanted to say to y'all. So, on that note, hey, what do you think about this weekend with the UFC? Well, I thought that the Burns and the Mike Mallet fight was kind of interesting. I kind of was hoping George, I was going to say George Burns, but Gilbert Burns would get his butt in gear and come back and win that fight because I know Mike Mallet has a tendency to kind of gas himself out at times, like he has done before, and has gotten beat. Like he won 2.5 rounds one time against an MMA fighter, and then the last like 2 minutes, the guy came back because he was totally exhausted. But I think he learned from that mistake, and he looked good against Gilbert Burns. Putting him out in the third round, I was impressed. And that's the biggest win for Mike Mallett's career. I don't know if you follow UFC, but if you don't, you better start following it now. Get yourself a Paramount deal, and it's only like $4 right now. And for the first 3 months, I think you only pay $4. I mean, it's worth it. UFC fights used to cost me like anywhere from 75 to $80 a fight, and you're talking every month, man. So the Paramount deal is poodle, like they say, it's poodle. So let's go out and get that Paramount deal so we can be up to date on these UFC fights and the things that are going on. I don't know what's going on with it next weekend or what the fights are because it's Monday and I haven't really got that far. I kind of just spent my weekend kind of reflecting. I didn't really watch the UFC fight. I just kind of clicked it on and clicked it off because there wasn't really one on there that I cared about. I don't, it was all pretty much prelim people and they were good fights from the highlights that I've seen, but I did watch that, and I did watch the whole fight with the Gilbert Burns, and it was good. It was sad to see that Gilbert Burns is hanging it up. He's had a long career with the UFC. He's had his ups and downs. I remember when he was a lighter weight class, he was getting whooped all the time, and then as soon as he got, he didn't cut that weight. He seemed to like get better out of nowhere. It was crazy. It was like, man, Gilbert's, doing the thing. I mean, he even fought some pretty good people like Tyron Woodley, beat him easily. So now, he's just getting older and I think it's time for him to hang it up. So we're looking forward to this weekend. I was going to look that up and tell you, it doesn't look like, okay, here we go. So this weekend, we're running slow today. Looks like Jamal Sterling and Zalal are fighting. Let me get you some better names here. Yeah. Aljamain Sterling said Jamal. That's funny because why that's funny is because I had a friend, Jamal Sterling, that I grew up with in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we used to be stick up kids kind of back in the day, and we used to stick up to Mexicans and, people who were around the block, we used to take advantage of that stuff at night. If you were out, you'd be lucky you'd be stick up by one of us. But I remember Jamal one time, he had mask on and he tried to stick me up. I was like, "Man, is that you, Jamal?" He was like, "Oh, man, Fresh, I didn't know that was you, man. Jesus, what you doing, man?" I was like, "Shoot, man, I'm out here, trying to get money just like you." He's like, "What the how you been?" We just kicked it, and then he put his mask back on and walked away. Went around to sticking more people up, but it was a different life back then. We in the 90s, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you knew if you were in the games that I was in, like especially the cocaine game, cocaine was like 10-5 a key. So a lot of people were in the dope game. And if you weren't, then you were missing out because there was a lot of money to be made. I don't know if you ever watch that show Snowfall, but the stuff in that show that they depict is absolutely correct. It was violent, it was grimy, it turned people into dope fiends overnight. I mean, I remember at my cousin's one time, he had an astrophysicist guy that had these astrophysicist books. He was in school to become like an astrophysicist and he was renting out his room and pimping out hookers at the same time while this dude was getting high in the room. You know what I mean? Then we went and checked out his car. The dude was an astrophysicist and overnight turned into a bass head just like that back in the 90s. So I know a lot of you who went through the 90s just like I did had your ups and downs with it, whether you got involved with selling drugs and you did some time. Like, I did a lot of time, even prison time. And I remember being in prison at a young age and I thought, damn, I'm here now. And, it can't get any worse than this. But prison for me was tough because, I had long hair. I used to walk around, call myself the hip hop hippie. You know what I mean? I was doing rap music, with a rap crew called BMM, Black Market Music, Don Juan, DJ Strange, Kurt G, all that, all the whole crew. We had GHD, Rated R, a whole bunch of us. I remember Rated R, he was like a 18. When he turned like 18, he got like onset schizophrenia. The next thing you know, we'd just be sitting there and our main homie, he was like, "Man, who you talking to?" I'm talking to him." And there'd be nobody there, and we'd be like, "What the hell are you really talking to?" And he's got to stealing things and everything, but we didn't even know that this was happening. We just thought that maybe he, was high or something, but no, he had the full-blown schizophrenia, and, he ended up having to be, mentally housed in, like, a group home because what had happened is they had taken all the insane asylums away back in the 80s because they didn't have funding anymore. And that's really where a lot of things kind of got screwed up. And that's what I wanted to talk about too, I heard about this lady. She had like set something on fire. She did some other horrible thing, stabbed her dad, or she did all these horrible things. And then I think it was Walmart or something like that. She went in and she took this kid, this like 3 or 4 year old boy, and she ends up slashing him on the face. Then the police end up shooting and killing her. But it come to find out that she was suffering from schizophrenia. And the problem with that is that we had closed down all the facilities to help these people. So now they're just loose among us. And I think that's something that we really need to start to talk about. And I'm talking about it here right now. Let's bring awareness to mental health and force our government, in our states to try to do something about it to get a better grip on these people who are suffering from these psychosis, because things ain't going to get better. Every day somebody else gets a new condition, schizophrenia, and they don't know what they're doing. So can you blame her because it's a it's a disease of her mind, is seeing things that ain't really there. It's telling her that this is probably she probably thought the boy was a demon or something. Who knows what was going through her mind? Because a logical person would never strike a kid with a knife or try to kill him or whatever. And you see that over and over and over. It's because you've shut down these institutions. And the thing is that you take away the institutions, but you build more prisons. Now, these people don't need to be in prison, but they need to be monitored. They need to be, we need to know where they're at all times. Whether it's ankle monitors, people that they can pay to come to your house maybe a couple of times a day to see how you're doing. Make sure you're taking your medication. And it wouldn't cost the government much. It sure wouldn't cost as much as it would cost to house somebody, because you got to be like, I mean, bad off, like pretty much unable to take care of yourself. But you could be crazy as a son bitch, and the government will say, no, he can go out in society. No, 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 no. Enough of that. Enough of that. You start doing things, put things in place to take care of the problem that we have in America, where we have too many crazy people roaming the streets. Irina, she still would have been alive. The black person that killed her on the trains, and after it's like, yeah, cut that white girl, and just right now he's not standing trial because they say he's insane. But he keeps committing these crimes, and you keep letting him free on our streets. So who's really the monster? Can we blame that guy? No, we can't blame him. He was sick. He was sick, and he should have never been allowed to be on our streets, but we let him because the government don't care about us. All they care about is getting themselves rich. They care about their portfolio, how they can get money from these lobbyists and these companies that give them kickbacks so they can pad their wallets and get rich while we sit here and suffer. Look at the gap, the wealth gap between a public servant that's supposed to be, you know, protecting and serving like a police officer, and then look at a senator. A senator is making millions and millions of dollars because the senator is taking from the people, right? Now, a cop, the only way he can do that is, okay, I just busted a drug dealer. I'm going to confiscate the cash. There ain't no difference. It's just the senators are not getting caught. And the police, they're not doing it as much because they got a better handle on it. So what they need to do is reverse that and start policing these senators like they would do a cop. Put things involved so this money ain't slipping through the cracks. Just recently, there's a vote going to be this Monday on the House floor to expel this Jasmine. Let me see, what was her name? I have it wrote down here somewhere. Bear with me while I find this whole thing. I had some notes here. Oh boy, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Yeah, her and her brother allegedly stole like $5 million from FEMA. And what was her name? Sheila McCormick. Yeah. They're going to have a vote to expel her from Congress because she's being investigated and probably will be convicted of fraud. But her and her brother supposedly took $5 million from FEMA, rolled it into some other kind of company that trying to hide the money, and she bought a Tesla, a diamond ring, lavish vacations, just a cruise. Her and her brother both just spent up to $5 million robbing this FEMA money, and now, and she's a Democrat, and now they're going to see if they can get enough votes to expel her. Well, why shouldn't they? I know the Democrats stick together, but at some point, they got to follow common sense. And that's been the problem with the government, is like they've lost their common sense. And another thing is that I've never voted. And I'm going to tell you that honestly. I've never went and voted because I always thought that, me voting is kind of like a situation where I couldn't do it because of the felony thing. But I remember when Obama was just trying to get elected, I worked with the Grand Rapids Hip Hop Coalition to try to get him elected. So I've always figured myself a Democrat. Even growing up, I would ask my parents, "Hey, what are we? Are we?" There's two things I always ask: "What we lit? We're Methodists, and we're Democrats. I guess we're Democrats. Yeah, ask your dad. We're Democrats." So I thought I was a Democrat all this whole time, and I bet you all of you thought you were Democrats too, even MAGA. Before you were MAGA, you were a Democrat. Don't say you weren't, because I know that you're a damn lie. Unless you're a conservative, because being conservative back in my day meant you were a uptight, suit wearing, conservative, and people hated conservatives. It's not until the pendulum swung and reversed everybody into this situation that it became cool to be Republican, because back in the day, it wasn't cool, man. Just telling you the truth. So all you MAGAs out there, you used to be Democrats. And now all the Democrat people that you see are mostly like the Generation X. And they're all the Karens and all these people who have just, I don't know, if they just smoke too much weed in their youth, that they don't have the ability to articulate, or maybe they have the ability to articulate, but they don't have the ability to understand things properly. Like, you could explain something to them so easily, but they still wouldn't get it. They'd still say, "Nope, he's orange. Nope, he's orange. He's bad. You can't tell me any otherwise. He's racist too. And he's this, that, and another, and blah, blah, blah. And oh my goodness, you just can't talk to people, and I hate that. I mean, common sense is such a easy thing to have. I mean, it's like this. If you put your hand on that burner, it's going to burn you. So don't put your hand on it. Guess what? That's common sense. That's how simple it is. So common sense tells you that these things are untrue, but you still go on holding up signs. You're doing this, you're doing that. No, and I ain't for all that. I think that's what takes me full circle here, is to talk about that church, that was, had all his parishioners out there with signs, about 20, 25 of them on a nice Friday, wasting your time doing that. People don't care anymore. It's starting to like fizzle out. We understood we went through a woke period, but that period now is over. We're ending all the woke garbage that plagued our country and started, turning us into people who we didn't want to be, and separate us. I know Obama had a big, huge, he was instrumental in the big separation, because he allowed things to happen. And I always preach, let things to happen naturally. Just like what happened when black people integrated with white people. It was the like the NAACP and the Black Rights Civil Rights Movement. It forced integration. And what happens when you force something? It doesn't always work. So if it would have happened regularly, I think it would have worked out a lot better. And I do preach that a lot, because that's just how I believe. And if you disagree, let me know in the comments. If you have anything that you disagree with me, I appreciate answering your comments. And, if there's anything that's going on with you that you'd like to talk with me about, I'm open to having any discussion with you. If I can help you with anything, I'm willing to help you. I'm willing to help you if you're drinking and using drugs and you're trying to get sober. I just read a comment about a 14-year-old that said he started smoking weed and doing dabs when he was like 12 years old, and now he's 14. And all he thinks about is stats and all this other stuff. I said, I was the same way. I probably started weed a lot earlier, because I grew up in a time where we were a lot faster and we developed a lot quicker, because, that was just our generation. We didn't have cell phones and everything else. So we had to kind of think on our own and grow up quick. I didn't have time to be a child in the environment that I was in. So I just told him, read a book, man, and get an education. That's the biggest thing. The book I want you to read is called Pimp by Iceberg Slim, and get back with me and tell me if it changed anything. It's a good shot, because in that book, I mean, I read it. I read it when I was probably 14. I think it changed me a little bit. It taught me a lot about how the world looks and how the world acts. You know, not all the it's not all bad. You know, the book ain't all bad. The book's about teaching people some common damn sense. And that's why I told him that. So hopefully he reads it and he gets back with me. But the same goes for anyone else. If you have any problem, you want to talk to me about it, holla at your boy. I'm here to help. Anyone. I've been sober a short period of time, but I think I got the worst of it behind me, and I don't plan on relapsing, but I take every day at like slowly, minute by minute, second by second, day by day. That's what they say, because you never know what can happen the next day. I could probably lose a loved one that I care about, and that might set me off where I can't handle it, and I just snap and I go back to drinking alcohol. And a lot of us use that as a crutch and a thing, but I don't want to do that. And I think alcohol and me are broke up for good, hopefully. But I pray every day that that's the case. And I owe all glory due to Jesus Christ, God, who's pulled me out of that fire and rescued me. And he could do the same for you. And I don't want to make this a preaching session, because that's not what it is. It's just, I want you guys to be uplifted by what I'm saying. And that's what I want, is to encourage people to be better people. That's what this whole show is about. Encouraging people to be the best versions of themselves. And whatever you're doing, be the best version. In your job, strive to be the best at your job. And in life, strive to do the best in your life. So I'm moving on from that. Isn't it funny that we were talking about Congress, men and women? Ilhan Omar, she said it was like some type of error in her accounting that inflated her assets. So she went from like having no money to 30 million. And I just wonder, you guys, have you ever been in a situation where you have to write down your assets? How preposterous does that seem to you? Because to me, it sounds like something is up there, because how do you go from 60,000 a year or whatever she's making, 120,000, to having 30 billion? And she was talking about her brother, or not her brother, her husband, who supposedly she had married her brother and all these other things. I wonder why they don't step on the gas with that. I mean, literally, does she have to commit a crime to be? I mean, I don't want to see anyone removed from the United States. I think once you're a citizen, you shouldn't never have to be removed. But I don't think that she should be in public office. I think that she's done set enough in dealing with the people that she's not a good fit. I don't want to see somebody like that representing my state. I know that, but I don't know how you guys feel. If you like Ilhan Omar and you think she should stay in her position, let me know in the comments. There was a tourist charged with like, I don't know, maybe attempted murder or whatever he did, but he was on a snorkeling trip in Hawaii, and they freaked out and he stabbed the captain of the boat. There's some crazy people out there. I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying. This mental health problem we have in America is starting to fracture our society. We need to get a hold of it. I don't care if we have to pay more to get these people the help. Mental health is important. We have to make sure these people are taking their medications. And most people who have a problem like that are on some type of SSI, SSDI, or something like that. So they need to make it a requirement for them to get that check. They have to have a doctor or a nurse following up with them at least a couple of times. Oops, excuse me. At least a couple of times a day. That's what I'm preaching. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's what I'm talking about. Let's see what else we got wrote down here. So the oil prices, they say that oil prices have gone down that real low, but we won't see the effects of it for like 2 weeks. I don't know how that's going to go, and with the Strait of Hormuz, I guess they blew a hole in one of Iran's big oil tankers so it couldn't go anymore. Then they seized it. So they're probably going to take that oil. But what do you guys think of the war, and what has to happen next is what I wonder. I mean, do we go and we blow up their bridges and their infrastructure and things like that? Because I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know what they should do because, I'm just me. I'm not in their war room. I don't know. All I know is what's on the news, and it just gives me the blues. So, what do y'all think about it? Let me know in the comments. And whoever comments about it, I will answer it and we can get a discussion going on about it. And that's, a lot of things that I say. I want you guys to write in the comments, and I want to be able to follow up and maybe get a good chain going. So what it does is it builds awareness. So if you're listening to this or you're watching it, let's comment and don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and let's get some comments going because that's the only way we're going to fix this mental health crisis in the world that we got going on is by making these blockchain comments go long and long so people just start reading and understand that we're fed up with it. We're fed up of all these people who have schizophrenia walking around free, killing people, hurting babies, doing things that can be prevented by just a little bit of maintenance. You don't have to house them and feed them and take care of them and build a mental institution, but at least have them in some type of leash so they're not hurting people. Like the buddy system. Pay somebody an hourly wage to watch them through the day when they're out in public, and then have like a little panic button or something if they get out of control. I don't know. There's several ways to go on about it, but I think, having some type of structure like that, a babysitter or whatever, or an immediate 911 or a call to someone if they're not taking their medication. Something has to happen. How do you think the old verse reading went where Trump read chapter 7, verses 11 through 22 on Sunday in Second Chronicles? He's been beefing with the Pope, which is totally ridiculous. That guy does some weird things, man. That's the only thing. Well, that's not the only thing, but that's some of the things that just really turned me off about this president is he just does dumb shit that is unnecessary. Like he's the type of president that will do something great and then shoot himself in the foot the next day. It's like, what in the world, man? Have we ever seen somebody that's so polarizing and so good, but so bad at the same time? It's like, man, you never know what you're going to get with Mr. Trump. Let's see. Come on, 7. Come on, 7. Oh, man, he just went and shot up Iran, and now he's talking about taking over Greenland. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's some crazy, crazy stuff. It's a crazy world out there. I don't know. I do not have a clue. But yeah, another thing is these scientists, these dang scientists that are out there. Why do they keep going missing or murdered or winding up dead? And there's a link to them. They all have secrets that the United States have been hiding. Like one scientist, he went missing. He just took off one day with his weapon, I think a handgun, and he never came back. And he worked for the base that was on the 1947 landing of some alien spacecraft or something. Roswell, New Mexico. You guys remember that? I know you don't remember the 47, but we've all heard of Roswell. It's a common tourist place to everybody go. Hey, keep out of here. And do you believe in aliens? Do you believe that there's extraterrestrial beings out there that are they're just keeping an eye on us, or are they, is our world like the shittiest world to go? Like, like I remember I was listening to Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn one time, and they were talking about our world's like the shithole, so nobody likes to visit it, and that could be, because there's a lot of us here that just don't really understand the meaning of love, respect, and gratitude. And you got to have that in life to be a good person. So let's try to explore that and to see how we can be better people, show more love, more gratitude, and I'm sure the world will be a better place. But yeah, these scientists, they keep coming up missing. So I think that's number 11 now. Trump said in an interview, he said that, well, we're going to look into it and we should know soon whether it's a coincidence or something actually is happening here. But I'm interested to see of how that's going to go. Representative Congressman Tim Burchett says UFOs are real and there is life out there. So I don't know. Do you believe the representative? He's from Congress. He's telling you that he knows, but nobody will tell you for a definitive fact, are these UFOs real or not? Have you ever seen a UFO? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in extraterrestrial spirits or beings from another planet? If you do, let me know in the comments and tell me your story. I'd love to hear it. I'll even shout you out on the show if you do. Rapper David, he was arrested, and I guess that girl was dismembered in the back of that car. Why did they wait so long to arrest him if he had a hand in it? And if she didn't die of murder, she died of, say she overdosed on drugs or something, and they didn't do anything about it, and then they chopped her up and put her in the back of there, him and whoever. I don't think he did it by himself, or if he did it at all. I'm not saying that he did. I'm not saying he's guilty. I don't know. I'd never do that. But what I am saying is that charges have been filed, and we're going to see where that one goes, because that one is a strange one, to say the least. There's a lot of things going on, but people winding up in the back of a car all chopped up is not what I'd want to know, or it's just nuts. So one of my things that I like to do, and I watched this weekend. Well, I didn't order the show, but I follow arm wrestling. And, I used to arm wrestle a lot when I was young. I loved arm wrestle. I'm sure a lot of us love to arm wrestle. But, I mean, there's different levels to this arm wrestling thing. And Devin Larratt, he showed that on Saturday. It was one in Germany, and he was arm wrestling Vitaly Letin. And they had arm wrestled like 3 months earlier on the left, and he had beat Devin Larratt on the left hand, barely. But he said, come my right hand, it's going to be a different story. And it was, he beat Vitaly Letin in their match. I think it was East versus West 23. And his haircut was, the guy said he wanted to be like Krusty the Clown. So he cut the crown of his head and left his hair just kind of freaking out. And he's all steroided up. He's on probably every damn steroid. You can tell his face is just beet red. It's got this just horrible acne on it, and his eyes are bulging out of his head, and his hair is cut like kind of Krusty the Clown, and his eyes are like, I'm like, holy fucking shit, man, what's wrong with this guy? But I love this guy. I think he's a great personality. I think he's doing great things for the world of arm wrestling. I hope he keeps it up. I mean, he's my age, and he is killing it in the arm wrestling world. And if you don't watch arm wrestling, I mean, I know it's not a real mainstream sport, and a lot of people don't watch it, but I'm gonna let you know here that it is definitely entertaining. So in that same event, you had you guys all know who Brian Shaw is. Hopefully, he's a 4-time strongman, world's strongest man competition thing. He's won that like 4 times, and I think all in all, he's had maybe a dozen or so events, and he's either came in second or third, or I think he's placed in the top 5 like every time. If I'm not sure, but if I'm not, I'm sure you'd let me know in the comments. But he had a great match with Leonidas. I don't know. Leonidas, I think, is a German. And he went over to his country. He arm wrestled him. And you could see that Brian Shaw is new to the game of arm wrestling. So he's only got a couple years in it. And Leonidas has been in 6 years. And Leonidas is a bodybuilder, strong, kind of strong, way smaller. I think Brian came in at like 400 pounds. He's just a beast of a man, if you don't know who Brian Shaw is. But man, I love Brian Shaw. Brian Shaw's, man, you my guy, you my dude. I'd like to meet you one day. Hopefully, this channel blows up. But the only way it's going to blow up is with y'all help. So come on and subscribe and like this episode, like the channel, tell your families about it, tell your friends about it. Let's get this thing blowed up. And so I can start giving back, and hopefully what I want to say is once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to pick out of that 1,000 and I'm going to give away a gift to one of my subscribers or maybe the top 3. I don't know. And I don't know what the gift's going to be yet. I'm kind of working towards that, but get me to 1,000 and you're going to find out. Anyway, so Brian and Leonidas, they get into it. And Brian, he's new to the sport. Like I said, he's 4-time world strongman. Leonidas has been in 6 years. And it kind of showed, because he kind of flash pinned Brian a couple of times. And, but Brian, came back. He's held strong. It came to the last match. It was the best out of 5. So here's they're on 5, and it was like go, and Brian just barely. I mean, his knuckles kind of bent over, and he lost, but he did a good job. So if you're not following arm wrestling, it was East or West 23. So that there's been 23 events. There's also different organizations. There's about maybe 3 or 4 that they all go to in arm wrestle. It's basically a lot of Russians, Americans, Canadians, and it's a hell of a sport. Arm wrestling is coming back. It's coming. It's going to be more mainstream and more popular. So go give that a like somewhere. Go give Devin Laird a like and follow his channel, and he'll tell you all about it. Another thing is Concrete Elbow. If you look up that, you'll find there's a lot of cool things going on with that. But yeah, so I just want to say that I had a good weekend. I hope you all had a good weekend. And I don't know. I don't know what else there's to talk about other than, I could tell you some prison stories, stuff like that, but I'll save it for another day. But I don't know how long I've been going for, but I got a lot of stories, that I could tell. But we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. This is Grown Folks. Shut up when grown folks are talking. It's your host, DJ Dougie Fresh Kicks, a.k.a. Bread Money. Hope y'all had a great time.